Space, the final frontier. Space Station Ashland sits on the edge of Federation space with its companion ship, the U.S.S. Dilamus Christian. The space around them is full of mystery and strange wonders, where secrets are kept and danger lurks around every corner. The crew of the Dilamus Christian must navigate treacherous waters as they work to protect the Federation. But as they peer into the unknown, they will discover that the line between friend and foe is not always clear. They will be tested like never before and will face challenges that will push them to their limits. Join us on this adventure as we explore the farthest reaches of space and uncover the hidden truths that lie within the shadows. Tabletop Journeys presents Star Trek: Preservations.
Mr. Staven, leave the channel open so that the commander can listen, but hail the Rama.
Aye, sir. On screen, sir. Tobor.
I see.
Your former crew member and engineer is before you. What he's wearing shows the remnants of a Starfleet uniform kind of underneath. It's really in disrepair. He looks fairly aged and haggard, but focused. And his eye color has changed significantly. It's a very bright and piercing, almost glowing blue. And his voice, while similar to a voice you would have recalled, has a weird reverberation that kind of almost like not a half second before or early, but just a half second off of the speech. So there's almost like you're catching two different sounds, but it's not a timing thing. You're literally hearing almost like two different vocalizations at the same time.
Almost as though it's distorted through subspace, perhaps?
Very similar to that, yeah.
All right.
And so through your research, you did notice that eye color thing in all the various archaeological sites and things like that seem to come along with this. And this seems to be in keeping with that.
Right, that was a trait in the ancient civilizations that we had found in the hologram thing. That was a trait of the people that were infected, was the bright blue eyes.
Yep.
Yes.
But this particular person, from your recollection, Tobar, did not have blue eyes before.
So I'll just say, I'm Commander Sabian Tobor, the U.S.S. Dilamus Christian. You are in violation of Federation space. To whom do I have the pleasure to speak to?
Your old friend. And new.
Well then, old friend and new. What brings you all the way out here?
We are of dual purpose.
And single-mindedness. So it has seemed.
Would it be determination if it wasn't single-minded in nature? We want what is ours.
I remember having this conversation with your colleague who refused to share what it is exactly that you are looking for.
We want what is ours. And I want revenge. And we will have both. It is at this time that simultaneously both Najar and Lacey, your stations will indicate that the ships are still building up towards something, an energy reserve. Your sensors are now indicating what they are building towards as a total. So you can tell that their fleet capital ships are the only ones that are truly doing this. The other ones are building up smaller amounts, but the fleet capital ships are building towards this goal, and they are at 25%.
So I was going to ask if during the conversation between the two ships, the two captains, so to speak, if Najar could have been, since he finally got to a station and was able to start assessing and working and breaking down all of the data that came in from the scans and this power build thing, plus a theory that's been swirling in his head since he looked at it, and was wondering if he could be trying to use his insight to guesstimate what that might be, specifically whether or not it might be the subspace weapon designs that were previously stolen that we've been chasing for a while, and estimates on how much power they would require, etc.
So you're trying to connect the dots of various investigations over the seasons to this phenomena?
Correct.
Excellent. Difficulty is going to be 3, no extended complication range. And what would your approach be?
It would definitely be insight security, because he's looking at all of the facts from different things combined with the data in front of him, etc. All of the pieces from across the season, as you said. Difficulty 3, I'll give you a threat again to buy a die.
Okay.
Make sure I have a reroll, and 3 dice should do it. Okay, so I have a success, a critical success, and a 20, but I'll use that reroll. Ooh, to make another critical success with a 3 for 5 successes.
Okay. That gives you 2 bonus momentum, which you'd have to spend right away.
That's cool. I'm sure whatever you're going to give me will leave me with questions.
This is the energy signature that the subspace weapon was building towards. This is definitively it. What its results will be, you do not have yet, but you do know that this is the thing that they've spent the last 2 years working towards. And they are pointing it downrange at Aslan Station.
And then for my bonus momentum, I will use the amount of power I'm seeing being drawn, assuming that each of the 4 ships, the 4 main ships, has one of these weapons on it. My bonus momentum question would be kind of estimating the power scale of what's about to come out. Like, if we let these fire, is Aslan Station about to be obliterated? Or, can we survive this attack? What kind of scale are we looking at? And he will start running this information immediately to Tanari in engineering, because his mind is better at calculating those things than Najar's is as well.
Okay.
And he'll bring it up to the captain as soon as you give me this information.
Yeah, so as far as scale goes, any one of those would be a massive amount of power and a massive amount of attack. Because it's subspace in nature, there aren't great defenses. However, some of the shielding that Tanari has done should, in theory, offer some protection. But because you don't know the final results of this weapon, it is unlikely that it would offer full or complete protection. But we're definitely talking a weapon of capital ship scale. Lacey, you also get the same information.
So I have actually a different question. So we know that it's about 25% to the amount of power that they're striving for, presumably. Do we know how fast that's happening? Like, when can we project when they might hit 100%?
Not until they at least hit 50%.
Okay.
Basically, you saw that they were charging,
right?
But you couldn't tell what the endpoint was. Now you can tell what the endpoint is. To see how fast they're going, you need one more point of data. Okay. Unless you would like to do some fancy calculations and extrapolations and try to figure that out.
I absolutely do.
Excellent. Your difficulty for that would be a 3.
Okay. Would this be like a reasoned science?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you hang on 1 second before you roll, I believe Glenn has a bonus question to spend, and then he has something else. Is that correct, Glenn?
No, you answered my bonus momentum question. That was about what we could anticipate on the magnitude. Najar realizes this before the call is over. It cannot wait. He would type a simple short message to Tobor, flagged as first top priority, saying, "I'm pretty sure that what they're building towards based on, well, you don't need my full thought process. I'm pretty sure they're building towards the launch of 4 massive subspace weapons, sir, that will deal a capital ship catastrophic level amount of damage if they're allowed to be fully charged. They're delaying too. I've already started sending this information to Tanari. I suggest that we use his engineering brain to come up with a shield modulation that we transmit to Aslan Station and all other ships to give us the best defense possible."
All right. And Lacey?
As much as I think it's a bad idea, a little bit, do my bold science and buy a threat.
Done.
Glenn, are you sharing this information with me as well?
Absolutely, it would go to the first officer as well.
Okay. If that's the case, that while this is going on, I will be relaying that to the Harrington, not vocally, via a secure text or whatever. And because I'm hearing 25%, I'm going to basically say, okay, they came out of warp 5 minutes ago or however long it was. I'm multiplying that by 3, and I'm giving them that as an initial estimate for when those weapons will be charged.
Okay. I'm going to have you make a roll shortly. We'll get Lacey's roll out done. All right.
So my
I may
final
not get the math right, but I'll get close.
my final rolls are 6, 8, and 1.
Okay. That looks like critical on the 1. So 4 total successes. On a difficulty of 3, you've got 1 bonus momentum, and then your science roll bonus question as well. So your specific question here was on the timing. So you have approximately 10 minutes for them to build. Their power is building actually a bit faster, almost exponential, as opposed to just growing on a straightforward trajectory. So you've got no more than 10 minutes. If something happens or difference, or if they choose to redirect things, it could be faster than that. They're building in a specific way, but they do have the ability to speed that up should they choose to.
Okay.
And you do have 1 bonus momentum that you have to spend. You have your bonus question. How would you like to address those issues?
So I think my bonus question as a science officer, as much as I don't want to out it, is only if I use the computer. Well, I assume I'm using the computer as part of that. The ship's computers or sensors.
We actually should do that. And Tanari, would you be kind enough to roll for the DC, just in case there's additional momentum that comes out of that as well, or complication?
Not a problem.
Your target is 13.
20.
Why do we let him choose Tanari? Why?
You did not choose. I chose because we were due. So that complication is going to result in the specific use of sensors in conjunction with the way they're communicating is going to create a difficulty trait of 1 towards the communication that Adam is about to send. That's how I will address that. That said, we're back.
The question, is that right?
Yep.
My question is...
Wait. Sorry. You used bold science, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you get a reroll.
Reroll that 20, please.
No, the 20 was on the ship. That wasn't her reroll.
Doesn't matter. It's the roll.
Dang it! Dang it!
Yeah.
All right. Reroll that, Adam. Or Dave.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
No, you will not.
15.
15? All right. Not enough to score a win, but certainly enough to roll out of the complication. There was always a shot he could have rolled it again.
Probably.
Yeah, with the ship sensors, it's actually a 19 and 20, so we had a shot at getting it twice. Dang it. I tried. Yeah.
I was at least smart enough to use different dice.
Yeah, there's that. All right. So I'm sorry, Lacey. Back to you.
So we have 10 minutes, which means that I think we need to act fast. So the question I have is there something that we can do that could slow down their power generation, including, like, is there a particular ship that is the most impactful?
Great question. So I will answer that in this way. Each of the ships in question, each of those capital ships, those are the ones with the specialized hybrid being, has its own separate weapon. You do not have one combined weapon with 4 parts.
Right.
You have 4 separate weapons of the same magnitude.
Okay.
And they are all charging and all pointed at Aslan Station. So that's part 1 of this bonus question. The answer to your question as far as slowing them down is fairly straightforward, but at least you have it confirmed that this would work. These weapons will have to be at 100% to fire, period. They cannot work under 100%.
Okay.
If their engines are breached, they cannot fire these weapons. Done.
Okay.
However, their power level stays the same.
So if they fix it, then... Okay.
So if they fix it, they can then go ahead and fire. Or if they find some way, by hook or by crook, to give that power to somebody else, then somebody else could fire. So 4 separate targets, 4 separate engines, 4 separate weapons, currently all at 25%.
With 10 minutes to go.
With 10 minutes on the clock.
Okay.
That was your question that came from your setup and your roll. You now have 1 bonus momentum that must be spent. Likely you'd have to spend something else to go with that in order to do something with it, but that choice is yours.
I'm just looking at what we can use for momentum. Is this the personal conflict momentum?
No, we're in a starship conflict. So it would be the standard momentum spend. So you could create a trait, ask additional questions. They're pretty much the 2 that we can do right at this moment.
Okay. So I don't know if either of those make sense. So I think that unless anybody has ideas.
You can always create a trait. You would have to spend at least 1 momentum to do so, to go with the one that's already in question. But you could create a trait to provide some kind of benefit, to fix an existing issue or problem, that type of thing. To negate an existing trait that's working against you, like that increased complication range for science stuff, things like that.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and spend the momentum to remove the complication trait, because you've been working. You adjusted the counteracting the subspace distortion.
Okay.
All right, that leaves us with 5 momentum and 9 threat. And Adam, your roll uncomplicated, thanks, Dave, to kind of cut through the information blockade kind of situation.
Yes, and I will be looking to do it in a very unconventional manner using, basically, I'm going to try to leverage my knowledge of the security systems that sort of like encrypt basically leverage the actual encryption of the communication to carry that message. So I'm like, it should be security engineering, but that's not a thing.
It'd be insight security.
Yeah, that's where I'm insight security or reason security, one or the other. And I think they might actually be insight and reason. They're both exactly the same for me. So they're both a 13. And I'm going to use, I'm going to try to leverage the focus, the clandestine operative, because I'm doing some spy shit here.
So, I like it. Yeah. I like it.
Okay.
The days of Secret Squirrel never go away.
Difficulty was what, 2?
Yes.
Okay. 13. I am going to spend we have momentum, yes?
You do.
Okay.
I am, however, going to spend 1, 2, 3, 4 threat to increase the complication range to an 18.
Okay. I'm glad I spent the momentum because I still have the cautious security. Yeah, I will re-roll that one. Oh, I have 1 success and 2 complications.
Ooh, who's 13, the Tenari 18. Now?
Yeah. Yep.
So 1 success, 2 complications. Man, I didn't even... Oh, that is wonderful. Please tell me that my threat paid off to get at least one of those complications.
They were both 18s.
Oh! That might go down in history as my best threat spend of all time.
Yeah, well,
yeah. That was not bad. I will say this. Your complications are going to be twofold. Your timing is going to be off when the message gets through. So the Harrington will hear that as having 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. Secondarily, the reason for that is the Rama captured your communication and altered the message.
Nice. The other thing that I would like to do is send a message back to Najar and Narilla with the question of, they didn't start building up until they left warp. Could that mean that a warp field will screw with them? So, and I guess that's all for me right now. So
definitely more Narilla's department than mine.
Yeah.
That is a great question and message. They are not messing with your internal communications, however. So that message will get through clean. Cutting back to the conversation between the Rama and the DC.
Tobor looks down at his console, sees the message from Najar and Narilla and Ocean, looks back up and says, Power down your illegal subspace weaponry, and we can talk about this, parasite.
We could have been friends.
But you didn't use your words.
We asked you to help us. Your crew left us. I spent years being tortured, and I thought they would save me.
Well, you were wrong. So, power down your subspace weapons, or we will open fire. This is your last warning.
If you open fire and start hostilities, I will send my ships all throughout the Alpha Quadrant. You might defend this station, but your 2 ships can't catch our fleet.
You think Starfleet only has 2 ships on this? Oh, my friend, that brain, that parasite lodged in your brain has done more damage than I had feared.
We are not to be trifled with.
Funny, I was going to say the same thing, Bug. So do you want to talk? If you do, turn off your weapon, and we can talk. Otherwise...
You notice him turning back and forth as he speaks. I told you, destroy them without conversation. I want them to know. I told you. This partnership works only if we win. I want him to pay. He abandoned me, and I will make sure he pays, then destroy everyone else.
See, this is the part where you're not using your words.
And then he turns and he says, so be it. And with that, several of the smaller ships, basically 1 squadron stays with each capital ship, and all of the other ships move into long range. At this point, we are entering a massive ship conflict. Aslan Station, the U.S.S. Harrington, and the Dilamus Christian versus the enemy fleet.
Good, I antagonized them into range of Aslan Station.
Dave?
Yeah, one question I wanted to make sure to clear up. Previously, my subspace shield modifications, we sent those to Aslan Station, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, good.
And one of the groups that ran at one of the conventions successfully has that implemented.
Oh, cool. Thank you, convention group.
Yeah.
But I would imagine from this power specs that they're building, like, it's still not, I mean, it's not going to be like...
I would say this. Without it, it would be useless. This weapon would go through any standard Federation Starfleet shielding, or basically any Alpha Quadrant species or polities shielding. With those modifications, it will function as a shield versus this specific type of damage. So
right,
this damage would have the special rule of
piercing.
It goes through everything.
Yep.
You know, piercing in the true by the book sense of the rule. Your shields don't work versus this thing. But now your shields function as per the rules, as though you're shielded against any other type of damage. So it still has to do damage. It still would do damage. Its type of damage doesn't destroy systems. It does other things and has specific biological implications as well.
So basically this means the station has a chance.
Exactly. You've spent most of 2 seasons giving Aslan Station a fighting chance versus an enemy that thinks they're going against somebody who's unprotected.
Okay.
And for all those who've played at Tabletop Journeys tables for the last 2 years with STA, you have also been adding to the ability for Aslan Station to defend itself in this situation. With that, players typically, when a conflict situation comes up in STA, Players, unless I spend the threat, I am not choosing to do so, will typically go first. And so your actions count. That said, Captain Tobor, how would you like to proceed?
All right, so I'm just checking a couple things. Essentially, 4 squadrons of fighters moved into attack.
Yes.
All right, and they've closed to long range at this point.
Yep, they're at long range. And in addition to those, you also have several of those freighters that have come in as well.
Very good. Was it Arvik at the helm or Lusan?
Lusan is at the helm.
So is Arvik, because Arvik's technically the ranking flight controller.
Correct, but Lusan was there at this time.
Okay. So I'm going to direct Lusan to engage in evasive maneuvers and bring us into phaser range of the incoming fighters.
Okay.
So his minor action is going to be to maneuver the ship under impulse, right? So we close the range. And then his evasive is daring con, assisted by structures con and my command presence. There's no roll for it. So it just makes it now all attacks against our ship become opposed.
Okay, gotcha.
So daring con and structures con. And then like any opposed combat task, if like we win, we can spend momentum to attack back.
Okay, gotcha. You're moving into range, taking evasive action when you're in range.
If I remember correctly, he has the precise evasion talent, so we don't suffer a +1 difficulty to our attacks, I believe, but we cannot use the defensive fire.
Joe, you're moving us into range, not just the fighters. Correct?
Well, I mean, I can only give the order to move the ship.
Once the ship is in range of the fighters, that has moved you up far enough where everything would be in range. The fighters would be close range, and the capital ships would be medium range.
I want to move us to medium of the fighters and long of the capital ships.
That makes more sense then. Gotcha.
Well, if I get a vote, I would like him to have the precise evasion talent.
I believe...
Given what Lucian's shown flying, you could probably just go with precise maneuvering as opposed to specifying evasion, I would think.
He is due a specific talent just from the number of speaking roles he's had series long. So in that regard, I'm fine with that one, unless anybody had a different one that they wanted, but I'm fine with precise evasion.
That means he can do the evasive maneuver without adding the +1 difficulty for us to shoot. And it makes sense because Arvik also has that talent, so he's been training Lusan, because sometimes the best defense is not getting shot in the first place.
Yeah, one would think.
Then I'm going to spend 2 momentum to keep the initiative.
Okay.
And allow either Chizilwer or Najar to, once we close into medium range, do a phaser spread at as many small fighters as we can knock out.
Okay, so you have the initiative. Najar or Ocean, who would like to take the lead here?
Go ahead.
Phaser fire, full spread, Mr. Najar.
Aye, Captain. And I get a major and a minor action, right?
Yes.
And my minor action, if I factor in a quick targeting solution, gives me a bonus to the attack, correct?
Reroll or choose which system you are going to attack rather than rolling, which will be useful later on. You can calibrate and get either +1 damage,
right,
or the target solution to get the reroll.
Okay, quick question then. Based on my knowledge of security and fighter-style ships, particularly since we talked about my already being aware of the experimental type, which I would have relayed also somewhere along the way, do I feel I need the additional damage to take out a fighter? In my brain, as opposed to Najar's brain, I didn't think I would necessarily need additional damage to take out a fighter with...
I am utilizing specific 2E versions of rules for squadron ships, fighter ships. Collectively, each squadron counts and I was a little off when I spoke earlier, they collectively count as a scale 3 vessel. Basically, you got 3 scale 1s together equals a scale 3. But more importantly, they have no resistance, but they do have shields of 16.
As a group?
As a group.
And each, 5, 5, and 5, does that knock one out kind of effectively?
You're taking them all out.
Okay.
Like if you do this, you're taking out the squadron kind of thing.
No, is it like at 50%, one ship drops off, at 75%, a second ship?
Something like that. Yeah, that makes sense. I will narratively describe that, but yeah, they don't go into that level of detail because it's not that kind of a micromanaged game. But I would certainly indicate that in some fashion. And they are effectively minor NPCs in this case, so we're not looking at breaches and all of that happy stuff. If you beat their shields, they're out, kind of thing.
Okay, then in that case, knowing they have a group shield number, I will go with calibrate weapons as my minor action to set up the frequency to cut through their shields as precisely as possible before firing.
Excellent.
As my major action.
You are attacking them, and that is a
control security task.
Yep.
Assisted by ship's weapons security.
Which I will be rolling.
You got it.
3.
And your roll gun?
So what's my difficulty?
Base is 2.
Yep.
Okay. Then I don't need to buy any additional dice. A critical success and a failure. So that's 3 successes and 1 non-success.
Okay.
The ship rolled a 3, which is a critical success, so we have a total of 5 successes.
On a base 2, that gives you 3 momentum. Are you choosing to do any momentum spends, or are we banking that?
Phasers have a quality of versatile 2, so we generate 2 bonus momentum.
Okay. So that's 5.
We're using a phaser array in area mode, so for 1 momentum, an additional target in the same zone may be hit. So how many of those 5 do we need?
1 squadron stayed with each ship. Only 1 squadron came forward, and all of those extra Talarian ships.
But it was 1 squadron from each. 3 squadrons came forward, correct?
Right. There's a squadron of Klingon fighters, a squadron of Romulan fighters, and a squadron of Federation fighters.
Perfect. So we'll spend 2 momentum to target all 3 groups, the area attack.
Yep.
Right now we're doing 6 damage each. They have no resistance, you said, right?
That is correct.
Does that include the +1 damage for the calibrated?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we go to Starship Combat Momentum spends. So we're going to add damage at a cost of 2 per 1. So that means we've got 6 in the pool, generated 5, spent 2. So we've got 11 left. I spent 2, actually we had 4 in the pool because I kept the initiative. So we've got 9 left. 75% of it is that. So we need another 6. So we're gonna spend 4 momentum for 2 more damage, so that all 3 groups took 8 damage.
All right, so all 3 take 8, and that leaves
Actually,
you
spend 2 more momentum so that they take 9 damage to get up over the 50%. So they're like shaken on that shot.
Najar reports after his shot, direct hit on all 3 squadrons, their shields down to 50%.
That leaves you with how much momentum?
That was 6. That leaves us with 3 momentum.
Okay. I'm just double checking my math. I was taking it away as you were going. That's what I see on my board. 3 momentum. There are 5 threat. You have hit the fighters with your technical attack. It is their attack. They are going to take aim at the DC, or at least the Federation style fighters will. A straight up shot, which would be weapons security. They are going to shoot at the DC. Now that would be opposed as opposed to a regular shot because of the evasive actions. Is that correct?
Yes. So you want me to roll for Luson to set the difficulty?
Absolutely.
All right. He's going to spend 1 momentum to get an extra die. I mean, he's got to focus.
Yep.
That's relevant.
Absolutely.
So he is 4 con, 8 daring, so 12 or less. 12, 8, and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the ship will assist. Well, ship got an 18, so it doesn't assist. So the difficulty is 4.
Spending 3 threat to buy extra dice. Not enough. Did not hit. It deflected off your shielding. One of the ops person leans over their shoulder and says, "Lieutenant, Shield's holding.
quickly.
Yep.
So with them missing in the opposed roll for a combat, we're going to spend the 2 momentum to have our shot shoot back and hit,
Okay.
doing an additional 6 damage to that one squadron, causing a breach and likely taking them out.
The repost comes back. And one of the squadrons is splashed.
Captain, might I suggest we focus on the command ships before they charge their weapons fully?
It is back in the hands of the crew.
Speaking of which, my plan is to use a minor action of a targeting solution and then using a photon torpedo spread to target the Rama's power systems.
Sounds good.
Does the minor action require a roll, or is it just does it? Okay.
If you're targeting a system, you're using the targeting solution to reduce the...
Yes, to basically pick my shot.
So it's base difficulty 3 then.
Yep.
And
It's actually a bit more than that. It's going to be a difficulty 5 because they're flying in a pattern to intercept the shot. You don't have a clean shot on them. You actually have to splash the fighters in front of it before you can get to it. What you're doing would still work. It's just,
I'm just
much
trying to
more
think.
difficult.
Do you want to give the runabouts a turn to get rid of the fighters so you can have a clearer shot?
Yes.
Well, the runabouts have to close, so they would have to move into close range. They'd have to spend their whole turn doing that. They can engage the other 2 squadrons that are close to us. Did the Harrington launch its attack wings?
It has not moved yet.
Okay. We'll give the Harrington with its flight deck, because that's only a minor action to launch.
Who's going to take the next action on the player side? Are you going to give that to the Harrington, or are you going to leave it with your crew?
I think let's give it to the Harrington and get their attack wing into space.
Okay. Harrington launches their attack wing and maneuvers so they are online with you, but not in close range with you. They maneuvered out and around so that a single shot would not easily hit both of you. And their ships are launching.
Sounds good. The Akira class, as a wonderful note from the GM's toolkit, they have specialized shuttle bays. They run the length of the saucer section. Small craft launching from them may take 1 additional helm action at no cost after they launch, so that it can launch and maneuver to engage other fighters. Okay.
By the way, you splashed the Federation fighters.
Yeah.
You recognize something that you had not noticed with the other fighters, that in addition to each of the Romulans fighters, they were shadowing or blocking direct view of a shuttlecraft that was directly in their wake. So as the Romulans move to attack, they have a shuttle that is breaking off and closing distance on Aslan Station. The Romulan fighters are going to attack you all.
Do you want to re-roll the opposed difficulty each time, Lee, or do we want to leave it locked in?
For speed of use and quality of radio, I will be satisfied with keeping it the same.
All right.
I could see how at a live table you may want to re-roll that from time to time, and this is actually hurting me because that was a really good roll, but I'm okay with that. I will, however, spend 1 threat, and I will roll, oddly, dang near the exact same roll I rolled the last time. So they will not succeed in hitting you.
Unfortunately, we're down to just 1 momentum, and it is not an immediate action, so we cannot spend threat to use it.
All right. That shuttle, however, is now close proximity to Aslan Station, and it looks like it's maneuvering for some sort of breaching action.
So we'll have Caval in the tank Abbott swoop over and attack it.
Okay. Glenn, would you roll for Caval and his attack on the tank Abbott?
Sure, what am I rolling? Gonna get 2 to start.
For Caval.
Competent is 13.
Okay, so 13's my goal. I have 2 dice, and the difficulty is 2.
Yes.
Yes.
We have 1 momentum. Should he spend a momentum to get a die, or should we take the chance on 2?
Take the chance on the 2 because the tank abbot gets to assist.
Oh, nice.
As
Okay,
well.
here we go. Big money, no whammies. An 11 and a 14, so 1 success, 1 non-success.
Lacey, would you roll for the tank?
The tank has weapon security of a 10.
It's just 1 die?
Yep. That's the 2.
Nice.
And your damage from the tank abbot?
Phaser Bank's versatile 2, damage 5 against the resistance of the shuttle.
They do have resistance, which is 1.
Okay.
And their shield is 3.
So 1 and 3, 4, we're getting through with a breach. So that
Yep.
would be enough, right? I mean, he's got the 2 bonus ones, so he spends it for an extra damage.
Yep. The shuttle is struck. It is knocked off course, completely powered down. It is disabled on emergency life support and tumbling away from the station.
Yeehaw.
All right, and we are back to
Them.
the Klingon fighter group does the same thing. They have an additional shuttle as well, but it is attacking the Harrington. Its shuttle is going towards breaching the Harrington. They use disruptors, so theirs is a bit more damaging than what the other groups were using. And the Harrington was not in an evasive standpoint, so it's a straight roll. I will spend my last remaining threat for an extra die, and 2 successes. They hit. They will do 6 points of damage. And Joe, can you give us the rules on Vicious 1?
Starship weapons. Qualities, page 227. Energy beam. Disruptor. Oh, it has intense now.
Okay.
Is
Sorry.
now the name of it in 2nd edition. And the intense quality is you may increase damage by 1 by spending 1 momentum rather than 2.
Okay. They have none to spend. So in that case, they are doing 6 points of damage to the Harrington shields.
Well, the Harrington's resistance is significant. Being a scale 5 Akira class vessel. And I don't know if it has a blade of armor or anything like that on it.
Let me take a look.
I'd actually just splash on the base resistance because it has, let me see, in Starship Creation, you calculate your resistance equal to half the scale plus the bonus based off of structure on page 185.
So structure is 10.
All right, so that gets a +2. So it rounds up. So it has a base resistance of 5, and then if it has a blade of armor or improved structural integrity, that's a +2 or +1 relative.
Okay, so it's a +1. So that's a resistance of what, 6?
6. So 6 and 6 splashes. So it takes no damage.
Harrington remains unscathed. That shuttle, however, is now on the Harrington's hull. So they have a barnacle. And back to you.
All right. So Dave and Lacey, it's up to you at this point.
I'm going to pass on a turn right now because we're not damaged yet.
I still have my turn. I don't know if I'm going to try to do what I was saying I was going to do, or
Oh, right, you did, because you were not going to fire at the...
Right.
You were going to fire at the...
I'm wondering if taking out the shuttles are the best option. There are 2 of them. One of them's disabled, and one of them's on the Harrington.
Actually, target the 2 damaged fighter squadrons. We should be able to knock them out.
Yeah. Okay. My other thought was see whether or not I could surgically remove the shuttle from the Harrington, but
no, you'd have to shoot.
I've already rolled 2 complications today. I'm not risking that. Yeah, let's take out the rest of the bees.
All right.
And that is... Sorry, it's been a while since I've done this. It's control security, but it's just me or the ship helps?
Ship helps.
All right. So I'm not going to bother putting anything on.
Don't you have bold something?
I have cautious.
Okay. Done. We've got 1 momentum, so...
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll use it, because we might be able to rebuild some. All right. And I have inappropriate targeting systems. No problem. I got to focus there. So that's 3 dice, and that makes up for it. I rolled a 3, 3, and a 4.
Nice. And the Christian rolls an 11, which is a success.
That's like 7.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So wait, we've got 4 momentum from the roll itself. The phaser arrays generate 2 bonus momentum that must be spent. And we're going to spend 1 of those 2 to target an additional quote-unquote ship in range. Now, Lee, now that we know that there's the shuttles, can we get that 3rd shuttle with another momentum spend as we kind of arc back over the boarding shuttle?
We're assuming there's a 3rd boarding shuttle.
Yes. Yes, you can.
All right. So we'll spend the 2 to get the 2nd squadron. So we hit the Romulan squadron. Area affected the boarding shuttle and the Klingon squadron, and we're doing 6 damage to them, to their 8 already.
Yep.
We'll spend 2 more momentum to bump that from 6 to 8, so it'll be 16, which should get us through shields and into the breaches, double breach, I think.
Yep.
And take them out.
So that wave of fighters has been dispatched. The shuttles are gone. That leaves just the one that's barnacled to the Harrington.
Yeah, they've got to do something for themselves. That's it for me.
And the Rama creates a targeting solution. Your system's signal, the Rama's locked onto us. And the Rama launches.
Do they, though, Lee?
Right? Isn't their own scrambling fighters and stuff getting in their way?
Well, I think he's going to fire a torpedo spread, but that requires spending 3 threat to do so.
Yes, it does.
And actually firing a torpedo requires a threat escalation spend. So unless a major NPC that has his own threat pool.
He has his own threat pool, and so he is firing. That is 3, if I'm correct, for the photon torpedoes?
1 for a single, 3 for a spread.
3 it is. He is firing a spread at the Dilamus Christian. They are high yield. They do 5 damage if he's successful.
And just to remind the audience, since this has been our only 2nd Starship combat, a high yield weapon, if it inflicts 1 or more breaches to a system, it inflicts an additional breach.
And he spends his remaining threat pool for extra dice. So I've got 4 dice on this one. And that is a 3 difficulty, correct?
Well, it's still technically opposed.
It's opposed. And that
4.
was a versus 4. 1, 2, 3. That's 4. And the Rama itself gets to assist.
Come on, Tanari the roll.
And that's a 13 with a target of 15 for the Rama. So that gives me 1 bonus back to his pool. And he successfully hits you with that with 3 torpedoes.
What's the base damage on a photon torpedo?
It's 5 and high yield. I built this with the BC Holmes tool. So this just factored in when I built the Rama. And it gave me the numbers.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, it's including the +2 from the weapon system rating upgrade.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
they're 5, and you fired a spread, so that's 6. So our resistance, because the Christian is a scale 3 with ablative armor, our resistance is a 6 as well. So it hits our shields, and we take it. Unless he wants to spend repeatable threat for increasing the damage.
And how much do I need to do that?
Since you don't have intense, it's 2 per 1.
I don't have enough. All right. So the Rama has taken its action. Is back to the players.
I might need a little bit of guidance here.
Yep. So you're at the sensor station. So based off of your Game Master's toolkit, you can take those actions.
We have only that 1 target left, though, yes?
No, we have all the big ships.
We have the big ships. Right?
Yeah, we've got 3 more squadrons doing a defensive interception that's giving them like a +2 potent cover trait. And then the 4... Now, is that just covering the Rama, Lee, or are they covering all 4 of the charging ships?
There's a squadron covering each capital ship. I'm defining capital as one that's charging the primary weapon.
Got it. So,
and you do have those extra freighters that are kind of moving in. So there's a Talarian capital ship that has no cover.
Got it. So you can do a scan for weakness on the enemy vessels, and we can get a +2 to our damage roll.
Would
next
the
time.
piercing
That's
quality
the major.
help us get past the fighters?
So this is a conversation Lee and I had earlier, because piercing is all or nothing now in second edition.
Mhm.
It seems brutally broken in this game, and so I made the proposal, because also I don't want to get shot with a piercing shot, to remove that from the scan for weakness action.
Okay, I could see how that could be overpowering if the sensor operator did that every turn,
Yeah.
and then every turn we then fired.
Well, then it gets crazy because like Astelin Station has a resistance of 12, and you're like, scan for weakness. Okay, it gets 0 off the damage hit. So it becomes an auto
Yeah.
include, auto do every time.
That seems broken. Absolutely.
I believe where we landed was it would give you an additional 2-point benefit.
Because you know, some might have shields up, some might not. It might.
Yep.
The math
Basically
might work.
a 2-point improvement to your ability to cause harm.
The other thing I might suggest, Lacey, is that they're talking about a major action. There is a minor action called calibrate sensors. If you do that first, you can either ignore a trait that's causing some sort of difficulty or be able to re-roll a d20.
Kind of like
Okay.
buffing your own roll.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. I'll calibrate sensors as a minor action. And then I will scan for weakness as a major action.
Okay, and which vessel are you scanning?
Do we know any difference between the 4 larger ships?
So they are from different polities. They all have different histories. They are all named vessels.
Yeah.
You probably would likely have the most information available on the Rama, but the other vessels are known entities.
I'm going to scan for weakness on the Rama.
Okay.
Let's see, science.
It is sensor science for the Dilamus Christian to assist.
We no longer have that 1-point trait working against us.
Yeah.
Right. Sensor science, which is... All right, I got it. I need a 13. Well, she's got to roll first.
Yep.
Great. Got 1 success. Oh, but I can re-roll it with the...
Recalibrated.
Sweet. And that re-roll was a 1.
Excellent. So that's 3.
And the Christian got an 11, which is a success.
So that's 2 momentum, if I'm reading correctly.
Yep. To our 1. So we've got 3 now.
As far as weaknesses, you have it. I will describe the specific weakness. The subspace weapon that has been retrofit into the Rama, and in theory, it's the same weapon in each of these ships, is huge. They've hollowed out whole sections of the ship and placed this weapon inside of that, and basically sitting somewhere just over where the deflector dish is this huge core with the ship. In other words, there are very specific structural weaknesses because of the way this was done and the speed at which it was done, as well as certain gaps. So life support systems, for example, would be tenuous because they're actually using a fair amount of power to maintain force fields to keep the environment together. Should be the same for all the ships.
Excellent. That's really useful information. I'll point out the weaknesses to the commander.
How many threat do you have?
I have 0 threat.
All right.
Sweet.
In the pool, your
Yeah.
NPCs have their own.
Yep.
Other than engineer guy.
The pool has 0 for threat, and you have 3 momentum.
I got a bunch of Andorians who have actions to take.
Yes. So
just don't give him 10 for a scene reversal. Right up to 9.
Speaking of resources, I have a question.
Real quick, hold on. Sorry, I got to do this. So we have destroyed 3 squadrons of fighters.
Yep.
And there's 2 of their assault shuttles.
Yep.
2 shuttles. 1 shuttle is on the Harrington.
Yep.
We are now at long range with the Rama and the 3 other capital ships.
Yep.
and their 3 squadrons of fighter screens.
Yep.
So the order will be to where we'll pick up, and then there's space trash driving around freighters and whatnot there. So my order to Luzon is another evasive maneuver and bring us into medium range, into phaser range of the Rama and the 4 others.
Okay. I would also add that the Harrington is medium range with you, but on line with you towards the Rama. So, and by on line, kind of like a convex, kind of closing in and surrounding. You're not quite flanking, but you're maneuvering side by side, so you cannot both be hit by the Rama at the same time.
Yep. Especially with ships that have phaser arrays, you always want to not be close.
Yep.
And are they practicing the same thing, or are all 4 of those capital ships in close range of each other? Or are they spread out?
They also are spreading out. They have maneuvered in different to positioning, make it harder to get all of them at once. You have their screens and them that are always in close, but they are not close to each other.
The way you described the subspace weaponry sounds like the wave motion cannon.
That's exactly what I described it. I credit you for giving me that idea when you used that as your intro bit about 6 or 7 months ago.
And then just to last thing, right? So all 4 of the capital ships are outside of long range of Astelin, right?
Yes, at present they are outside of long range.
Okay.
Which in and of itself is weird.
Well, they're going to fire that wave thing and whatever because they
don't want to be caught in the blast.
No one wants to get in range of the armament of a scale 12 space station.
Right? It ought to, in theory, be able to defend itself against the small ships.
Yeah.
Well, and that is the reason for the breaching shuttlecraft. You don't fight a station. You land something and bust in, and
it's got like resistance 10.
Yeah.
So it's like pew ping.
Yeah.
Seems to me with certain personal relationships, someone might be able to nudge someone into getting irrational and coming in closer to the station.
Well, I did taunt them into splitting off their fighters, which we were able to deal with.
I think that was part of their plan because they had something they wanted to stick on to. They had 3 things that they wanted to just sort of deploy. We only let them deploy 1.
Sure.
I agree. That's actually why Najar made his comment on the bridge, which he knows pisses Tobor off. I'm sorry. Is that he felt that you had fallen for their new ruse. They're like, all right, we got to buy time to charge these up.